The show begins with Megistus, the chief of staff of the wicked secret organization known as Agastia, explaining how the group's struggle for global dominance is going to his boss, Lady Akashic, who has pearly eyes and wears a hat as a sign of leadership. When she asks about their rivals' progress, he demonstrates their rivals' battles against the superheroes on a big screen, who are falling continuously against them. In the meantime, the Monster Development Department creates a new monster that resembles an old guy, dressed in a Nessie-like mascot suit and carrying a sword. Kuroitsu, a pale red-haired girl, is enraged at her boss, Dr. Satamaki, for pressuring her to present an undeveloped idea to Agastia's committee after she threw the concept together at the last minute. As she finishes introducing the monster, she notes the dismay on everybody's faces. Although Akashic appreciates the monster, Megistus, the supreme operational authority, rejects the plan instantly. It is also revealed that he is known as the thrice greatest Trismegistus because of his hard and effective labor as Agastia's backbone. Later, he visits their laboratory, instructs them on how they can do better, and advises them to rest as much as their bodies need. He leaves the lab by warning them not to propose such a useless idea ever again. Due to a lack of time and funding to construct another one so quickly, Kuroitsu is compelled to wear the Nessie outfit herself in inadequate combat. Later, Kuroitsu visits the nearby hotel to buy some lunch, where a guy named Kenji asks her about her job. She replies by telling him that she cannot disclose. After picking up some lunch, Kuroitsu and Satamaki are completing Wolf Beat, a fearsome wolf man who has been practicing in a virtual world until his body can be completed. Wolf Bait realizes his body has been altered to that of a wolf girl due to Akashic's last-minute demand for a cute monster, although his mentality remains that of a wolf man, causing him gender confusion. As Kenji departs from his part-time work at the hotel, he continues to wonder about Kuroitsu's job, which she cannot talk about. The following night, Wolf Beat strikes the superhero Divine Swordsman Blader. The mysterious superhero is revealed to be Kenji's secret identity, who seeks to protect the planet from evil beings. She attacks him in the hopes of earning a large enough reward to obtain his expected Wolfman body. But the fight ends in a draw due to Kenji's lack of experience with women and Wolf Beat's humiliation at being stripped naked. Kuroitsu is compelled to take Satamaki's position on a work trip to Kyushu to examine how an identical evil organization deals with battling against superheroes. After Satamaki becomes ill with food poisoning, Kuroitsu sticks close to Megistus during the journey, amazed at how he can compartmentalize his brain to efficiently accomplish work for the organization, evaluate the numerous goods made by Agastia's associates, and relax at the same time. Megistus displays thoughtfulness, even at night, by providing Kuroitsu with his hotel accommodation and working overnight in a nearby hostel. Bait is formally recruited into the Monster Development Department as their latest assistant in Agastia's HQ, albeit he still despises the cute wolf girl body they provided him. Satamaki introduces the Cannon Thunderbird as the department's next suggested monster, a gigantic mecha-like bird creature with railguns and lightning powers. However, due to the enormous number of mechanical components required, the group is compelled to interact with other Agastia departments and its commander, Akashic's whims. The Cannon Thunderbird, created by the committee, is reduced over time until it is introduced as a giant talking bird with a basic visor and headband. Blader easily defeats the monster in its first combat, and Blader wonders why Agastia didn't turn the monster into a massive mech with loads of weaponry. Kuroitsu is distraught when Blader effortlessly defeats her newest monster, a Hydra. The initial design called for 8 supplementary heads with venom-spitting abilities, but her division can just manage 1 more head and no venom owing to money and timing constraints. That night, Kenji worries if he can manage to become a Blader with his part-time work. Kuroitsu quickly adds 2 more heads to the monster, but the ultimate outcome is the same. Kuroitsu unexpectedly prompts Kenji to recall why he became a Blader to begin with when he walks into Kenji's business. She plans to recreate the Hydra with 4 more heads the following week. After failing a job interview, Cannon Thunderbird experiences an existential crisis. While working at the Agastia-associated Leafland amusement park, he rushes to Hydra's aid just before she is about to be attacked by a couple of magical girls. He is able to repel the magical girls by using a rifle and his thunder abilities. Hydra expresses her gratitude to Cannon by giving him a homemade lunch the following day. The superhero Blader overcomes a magnetic monster by dropping his blade and smacking it in the head. The following day, an Agastia executive called the Immortal Camula pays a visit to the Monster Development Department, threatening to audit their work. She battles off the department effortlessly, eventually escaping as Kuroitsu begs for a few of her pluripotent cells. Soon afterward, Kuroitsu goes to an idol event to seek inspiration for her upcoming monster when she stumbles across Camula, who is also there. While Kuroitsu attempts to console her, she admits to being a secret fan and purchasing all their products whenever possible. Kuroitsu comes to her department the next day with some of the pluripotent cells she obtained from using her napkin on Camula. Later, Kuroitsu brings Beat and Akashic to Leafland to investigate the theme park. But Akashic and Beat are just interested in fooling around while Kuroitsu inspects the park's monsters. Wolf Beat engages in combat with White Alligator, the monster of a rival group. The competitor monster is then destroyed beyond recognition, prompting the Monster Development Department to try to replicate it before the rival organization discovers it and retaliates against Agastia. The Monster Development Department must travel far and wide in search of numerous Agastia executives, each with their own hidden lair, to receive their actual stamp of approval on their form. After many days of hard work, they were able to gather all of the stamps, only to be informed by their General Affairs Department that a couple of the stamps were invalid and would need to be resubmitted. Later, Dr. Hone and her competitor group Black Lore's Monster Elbucky take a trip to Agastia's Monster Development Department to clarify their tale after Akashic destroys their White Alligator monster. Elbucky develops feelings for Wolf Beat. Kuroitsu finds that Hone was Sadameki's high school classmate. During their conversation, Hone inadvertently reveals that Black Lore, unlike Agastia, is a black corporation that compels its workers to work forced overtime and does not provide paid vacations. Kuroitsu presents a chocolate monster idea to the Agastia board based on its profitability after hearing about the money and status that Valentine's Day gives to many firms. Megistus and Akashic both agree on the concept. Later, Akashic tours the Monster Development Department to teach Kuroitsu and Wolf Beat how to make chocolate while working on a monster. They eventually develop Melty, a chocolate-themed monster. However, word spread that the dealer from whom they purchased the chocolate had metal bits embedded in it. Megistus refuses to deploy Melty against Blader because he believes that having a monster composed of tainted chocolate will harm Agastia's image. With no time to create another monster, Kuroitsu merely delivers Blader a good supply of the chocolate they created, along with a caution not to consume the remains of Melty. Later, Kenji is thrilled with the present. Meanwhile, Hone tries to arrange a friendly sparring session between her latest monsters, which deployed mental assaults against Agastia's Wolf Beat and Hydra, hoping to save her position at Black Lore. However, because of their opponents' particular characteristics, both Black Lore creatures' strikes backfire. Back at Black Lore's headquarters, Bullhead employs his terror assault upon the Red Mantle General, prompting him to withdraw from Black Lore. After work, the Monster Development Department heads to a drinking party along with Camula, whom Kuroitsu invited after feeling sorry for her. Kuroitsu and Sadameki eventually wind up discussing work as the rest of the party becomes inebriated and shows various emotions. Wolf Beat awakes drunk in Kuroitsu's bed the following day. Kuroitsu eventually awakens and clothes her in some of her extra clothing. She is irritated by the garments and Kuroitsu's regard for her as a little sister. Later, the two go to a neighboring rooftop deck for lunch, where Kuroitsu expresses her desire to one day become an executive at Agastia to Wolf Beat. After lunch, Wolf Beat is approached by three thugs, but Kuroitsu knocks them up herself, stating that she learned specific combat techniques to deal with some business executives herself. She then informs Wolf Beat that she doesn't consider him a little sister, but rather a daughter, which enrages him in several ways. Megistus organizes a recruitment campaign for Agastia fighters. Under the instructions of their sponsor's CEO, Yudo and Rio attend the occasion in their magical girl guise. Yudo is amazed at how brilliantly Rio responds to the questions and interviews, but Megistus declines to hire them since they are young, and then confesses that he knew they were here all along as infiltrators. The magical girls then assault Megistus, but he avoids their blows with his ice powers before disappearing. Megistus starts his recruiting effort when Yudo and Rio. Meanwhile, Kuroitsu and Wolf Beat launch Bandersnatch, their next monster, on Blader. After defeating its initial form, Bandersnatch morphs into a massive wolf-like creature. The monster deflects Blader's strikes and nearly destroys him until Blader unexpectedly transforms into his own second form, a blue outfit with a sharper sword. Kuroitsu is upset since she did not expect Blader to have a new shape, but Megistus appears to cheer her up. Sadameki suggests that in the future, Blader could be able to call a massive robot. Wolf Beat is thrilled at the possibility of creating a massive monster to combat it, but Kuroitsu adds that the expenditures would be equally exorbitant. When his brother, Dr. Sadameki, arrives home, Kenji muses over the voice in his suit, informing him about Blader's second form. The Monster Development Department invents a monster capable of dragging Blader underwater. Akashic hears them and utilizes the opportunity to go to the beach. The department decides to seize the opportunity to put its monsters to the test in the sea, while Camula pulls an unwilling Arachne out to have some fun in the sun. When Kennon's electronics abruptly short out, Wolfbeat and Cannon engage in a fierce struggle in the sea. The remainder of the gang tries to drag him back to shore, but Akashic uses her incredible power to divide the sea in half, giving Cannon a dry way back. Megistus chastises Akashic the next day for attracting unnecessary attention to herself and Agastia. After a great day at the office, Kuroitsu afterward chooses to chill by going to a neighboring tavern. After settling down inside, Kuroitsu realizes that the majority of the customers, including the proprietor, are retired supervillains and superheroes lamenting their glory days. The Mummy, their newest monster, is released on Blader. However, after spotting an advertisement for a pop idol group, Mummy unexpectedly flees from the battle and later goes to the Monster Development Department to request idol training. Mummy begins learning to dance and exercise with Wolfbeat as her teacher, but she struggles to sing despite her apparent efforts because Mummy's physique is primarily intended for battle and lacks adequate vocal cords. Cannula confronts Mummy after she injures Wolfbeat and flees, injecting her throat with a few of her own cells, thus generating a new voice box just in preparation for her idol premiere. After their successful concert, Mummy, Wolfbeat, and Kuroitsu realize that the producer who had been supporting them the entire time was Megistus himself. On the other hand, Kenji notices something recognizable about this new idol. The majority of Agastia's executives, as well as Kuroitsu and Wolfbeat, traveled to an employee retreat event in the Highlands. However, Wolfbeat observes that relatively few genuine employees go. Wolfbeat encounters Scylla, the Black Beast transformation executive, whose form was utilized as a model for his own at the retreat. Scylla, on the other hand, simply views Wolfbeat as a delightful wolf girl and continues to coerce him into intimate settings with her. While the different executives try to have fun, a small gang of superheroes known as the Assassin Rangers seek to attack the Agastia executives using guerrilla methods, only for them to fail. The gang summons a massive robot they bought secondhand to prevent disgrace, but the cursed dragon executive Fafnir beats them up. Later the same night in Tokyo, Karen Mizuki runs across Akashic, who is upset over being left behind on the visit by the other executives, and they both play an online game to cheer each other up. The following day, Akashic announces that Karen and her boss, Heike, are Agastia's latest executives. As Akashic receives an urgent call, Karen and Heike commence their initial day of duty as Akashic's personal assistants. Zedark, a corrupt society, wishes to purchase Agastia to expand its influence in Asia. When Megistus and Akashic do not respond quickly enough to Zedark's offer, Zetacht, their commander, plans to assault Agastia's assets and undertake a hostile takeover. With the help of Black Lore and the Pilia Magia females, Agastia's monsters put up a fight against Zedark's monsters. On the other hand, Zetacht opts to take the battlefield personally and straightens the scales with his combat suit and Zedark reinforcements. When it appears that everything is gone, Megistus discloses that Agastia has persuaded all heroes and villains throughout Japan to stand together against Zedark's soldiers, not in combat of good against evil, but that of honor versus honorless. Blader advances to attack, but is promptly beaten by Zetacht. Dr. Satomaki and Home immediately hand Kuroitsu a gadget that allows her to shift into Black Blader, whereas Blader transforms into his second form. The two can unite their strength to annihilate Zetacht. Kuroitsu realizes after the combat that the Black Blader attire cannot be uninstalled without a software upgrade. While she returns as a client dressed in the Black Blader outfit, Blader discovers his crush's links to Agastia. The end.